Hi guys, this is Sai Kumar Kortiwada. In this video, we will learn about browser versus memory router. In my previous video, I have explained what is the difference between browser router and hash router. Try to understand what exactly browser versus hash router so that you will understand this memory router as well. Let me quickly go into the differences between this browser versus memory router. So here, the browser router, as we mentioned, it is a human readable URLs, whereas memory router, the router will be managed, but that will not be shown on the URL. That means in the background, the memory will be created for each and every route, and it will be managed, and it will not be shown on the address bar. So that is about your memory router. And coming to the browser router, it always uses the history API which is provided by our browsers. Whereas this memory router, it has its own mechanism for using these routers and managing their memory routing. So it will not use the browser's history API. And also, browser router is mainly used for web applications and also where the application requires SEO. That is where we will be using the browser router. Whereas if you don't want SEO, and if you are working with any mobile applications or if you are working for any of the unit testing applications, then memory router is the best router for using in such type of applications. Whereas if you want to use back and forth, that means whenever you want to go back, you can even use the browser buttons. That is possible in browser router. But when you are using the back and forth by using a memory router, that is not possible with the browser buttons, but it is possible programmatically. So let's understand this with our programming. Let me quickly jump into Visual Studio Code. Here I have already explained about the browser router. Browser router will not have any extra features. It always works like a history API of our JavaScript and the browser APIs. But now what we'll do is we'll convert this browser router into memory router. So let me go here and replace all our browser routers with memory routers. So I'm creating memory router and a memory router and save this. Now go to the application and run this. Let me click on 3000 and hit enter. Now you can see this is our dashboard or a default page. When I click any of this, you can see the highlighted part over here. If I click on register, the register is highlighted, but the URL was not changed. Why it is not changed? Because we are using a memory router. It has memoized the URLs in the background, but it is not using any browser router. So now I'm in register and let me click on login. So I have navigated between register and login. But when I try to click on the back button, as per our expectation, it has to go into the registration. But it will not do that because we are using a memory router. Let me click on the back button. Now you can see the first page, whatever we are using before our application is launched, that page it is trying to navigate. That means forward and backward will not be possible in our memory router by using browser back button. For example, if I go to register and click on back button, now you are going again to the Google page. Why? Because it is the last used application before our application is launched. So that's how your memory router with browser buttons it works. But how I can move back and forth by using programmatically, and how this memory is stacked in our application. Let's see that as well. Let me go here to the code, and now what I'll do is I'll go into login. Now inside the login, what I'll do is I'll write this location. So what is the URL and what is the path we are getting? So what I'll do, I'll use something called as location is equal to use location of, and then I'll use this location and I'll try to use a use effect of, and let me go and write some console.log of location, and whenever the location gets updated, I want to print that value. So let me give a location as a dependency for this use effect. So now let me see, it has imported from React router DOM and use effect also imported. Let me go here and I will click on register. So let me go into the inspect and let me go into the console. First time whenever the application launch, the key is default and the path name is slash and there is no search parameters. Whereas when I click on navigate to login, you can see we got a path name without hash because we are not using a hash router, and in the background the path name is slash login, but on the browser URL you are not seeing that login. that is slash login. Let me clear this off and click this. Now again it went to register. When I click this again, the router has changed and the key value has changed whenever I'm moving from one route to another route. That is how the memory will be managed in the background. But how can I use for forwarding and backwarding of the application programmatically? So let's go here and let me create two buttons in our login page. Let me copy the same thing and put it over here. What I'll do is I'll just make it like backward, and let me copy the same thing and let me go here. Let me make it as forward. And how to move backward and forward programmatically in React Router DOM by using our navigate method. So I can use something called as navigate, which is coming from use navigate. You can see here it is coming from use navigate. And here what I'll do is when I want to go back, that means one step back, I can use -1. And whenever I want to move forward, that is one step forward, then I can use 1. So let me save this. Now when I click this, it has to go back. When I click this, it has to go forward. So let me go into the browser and clear this off. Let me go into the register first and products, and then I'll go to navigate to login. So I have logged in over here. When I click on login or back button from login, so it went to products. Why it is going to products? Because the last used one is products. When I click on register and when I click on login, now the last used one is register. When I click on backward, it went to register. And when I go to login and when I click on forward, it is not going anywhere because from login there is no forward route. So that's why it is not going. Let me go into navigate to register, navigate to login and forward. It's not going because we don't have any forward route. If you really have a forward route, then it will be going a particular route. So that's how you can use your backward and forward route in our React Router DOM by using memory router. Now, for example, when I hit this, you can see it is in the login page, but the login is not highlighted. So what we can do is, if you want to do or give any specific path, that means the base name for this memory router, you can do that by using our property called as initial entries. So whenever the router or whenever you are giving a base domain where it has to go, I want to go this and navigate to login. So I'm giving a initial entry as login. So whenever I give a reload, it internally went into login. You can see here the login is highlighted. That means whenever there is a base URL, it has redirect to the path name called as login. But that is not happened before. Initial entries, if you remove and save this, now you can see there is no highlighted route and it is having a key called as default route. That means whenever you are giving a default route and if you want to navigate especially into a particular route or redirect into a particular route, then you can use this property called as initial entries. Initial entries helps us to re-navigate your application on the base domain launch. That means whenever you are launching localhost 3000, where it has to go and redirect to login. So that is what I have given here. If you see here, the path name is login, but the key is default. That means the default route is pointing to your login. So that's how you can give in your memory router. And in the same way, you can give for browser router as well. But whenever you are using a browser router, you have to give something called as base domain or base name. So let me save this and go here and refresh this. It is not going with the initial entries, but whenever you want to give a base name and the base name is something like slash login and save this, now you can see when I hit this, it should be something like login, save, and when I hit this, I'm not getting any data. Let me refresh this and give slash login. You can see here, this is my base name. That means the base domain is having a login. When I click on register, it is having a base domain login slash register. For example, if my application name is Techshareskk, when I use localhost 3000, it will not work. When I use localhost 3000 slash Techshare, then only it works. When I am giving something like login 3000, it will not work, but when I give a Techshareskk as a base domain, then it starts working. So now instead of treating localhost 3000 as a base domain, we are treating localhost 3000 slash Techshareskk as a base domain. For example, if your application is having subdomains, then this will be helpful for us. So that's how your base domain or base name will work in our browser router. Hope this gave you a glance about the difference between browser router and memory router, and hope you understand clearly. That's it for this video. Hope you like my explanation. If you like my video, like, share, subscribe to my channel for more updates. Signing off. Thank you.